David Emmett Cockrum was an American comic book artist known for his co-creation of the new X-Men characters Nightcrawler, Storm, and Colossus. Cockrum was a prolific and inventive costume designer who updated the uniforms of the Legion of Superheroes. He did the same for the new X-Men and many of their antagonists in the 1970s and early 1980s. Early life: Cockrum was born on November 11, 1943, in Pendleton, Oregon. His father was a lieutenant colonel of the United States Air Force, resulting in the Cockrums frequently transporting their household from one city to another for years. Cockrum discovered comic books at a young age. An early favorite was Fawcett's Captain Marvel, especially McRae Captain Marvel Jr. Other artists whose work the young Cockrum admired were Wally Wood, Gilbert Kane, Murphy Anderson, and Joe Kubert. As a young man, Cockrum was a dedicated letter hack, who had many letters printed in comic book letter columns such as Fantastic Four number 22, The Amazing Spider-Man number 12, and Fantastic Four number 36. A letter from Cockrum in Fantastic Four number 34, January 1965, led to a correspondence with Andrea Klein, who later became his first wife. Cockrum's ambition was to become a comic book creator himself. Following his school graduation, Cockrum joined the United States Navy for 6 years. During this time, Cockrum married Klein and had a child with her, Ivan Shawn. He created the character Nightcrawler during this time, though the character would not be used until years later. Career: despite serving during the Vietnam War, Cockrum found time to contribute artwork to comics fanzines such as Star-Studded Comics and Fantastic Fanzine. After leaving the military, Cockrum found employment with Warren Publishing. He was then hired as an assistant inker to Murphy Anderson, who was inking various titles featuring Superman and Superboy for DC Comics. At the time, Superboy featured a Legion of Superheroes backup strip. When the position of artist for the Legion of Superheroes was left vacant, Cockrum sought the job and was rewarded with his first assignment drawing a series. Cockrum's work on the feature, beginning with a backup story and Superboy number 184 and recurring in several following issues, established an exciting new vibe. He remained the artist on the Superboy series after the Legion of Superheroes became the main feature of the book with number 197, and his art redefined the look of the Legion, creating new costumes and designs that would last until artist Keith Giffen did a similar revamp in the 1980s. Cockrum drew the story wherein the characters Bouncing Boy and duo Damsel were married in Superboy starring the Legion of Superheroes number 200. Cockrum eventually left DC and the Legion in a dispute involving the return of his original artwork from that issue. Prior to his departure, Cockrum had been preparing to be the regular artist on an ongoing Captain Marvel, Jr. backup strip in the Shazam series for DC. Marvel and the X-Men. Moving over to a staff position at Marvel, Cockrum and Len Wein under the direction of editor Roy Thomas created the new X-Men, co-creating such characters as Storm, Nightcrawler and Colossus. Storm and Nightcrawler were directly based on characters which Cockrum had intended to introduce into the Legion of Superheroes storyline had he remained on the title. These characters made their debut in Giant Size X-Men number 1, and then in a relaunched Uncanny X-Men. Journalist Tom Spurgeon wrote, Cockrum's penciled interiors on those first few issues of the new X-Men were dark and appealingly dramatic. Cockrum gave those first few issues of X-Men a sumptuous, late 70s cinema style that separated the book from the rest of Marvel's line, and superhero comics in general. Reading those X-Men comics felt like sneaking into a movie starring Sean Connery or Sigourney Weaver, not simply like flipping on the television. Uncanny X-Men really felt new and different, almost right away, and Cockrum's art was a tremendous part of that. Cockrum stayed with the title until 1977, when he was succeeded by penciler John Byrne with issue number 108. The final issue of his run introduced the Starjammers, a spacefaring superhero team he had originally intended to debut in their own series. He and Patty Cockrum were married on April 28, 1978. Cockrum quit his staff job at Marvel in 1979 and his angry resignation letter was printed in Iron Man number 127, but he continued to work for Marvel as a freelancer. Cockrum was Marvel's primary cover artist during this period, and also penciled and or inked a number of other titles for DC during this time. Although not a regular artist on the series, he redesigned the costume for Ms. Marvel. When artist Byrne left the X-Men in 1981, Cockrum returned to the title with issue number 145 but left again with issue number 164 in 1983 to work on the Futurians. The Futurians . In 1983, Cockrum produced the Futurians, first as a graphic novel, and then as an ongoing series published by Lodestone Comics. Though it did not last past issue number 3, a collected edition was published by Eternity Comics in 1987 that included the missing issue 4. In 1995, Aardwolf Publishing printed the missing issue as Futurians number 0, with a new 5-page story by Cockrum and author Clifford Meth. Claypool Comics . In 1994, Cockrum was recruited by Claypool Comics to produce work for them, resulting in several stories for Claypool's Elvira, Mistress of the Dark series beginning with number 7. Cockrum was put into rotation on Peter David Salsich's and Company, beginning with issue number 13-14, becoming the series penciler with number 17 and penciling most issues through number 43. Cockrum contributed a short feature to Richard Howell's Deadbeats comic issue number 18. Illness and death. In later years, Cockrum worked less frequently in comics. In 2004, he became seriously ill due to complications from diabetes and pneumonia, and a number of fellow artists and writers led by Clifford Meth and Neal Adams organized a fundraising project. The auction, run by Heritage Auctions at the Wizard World Chicago show in August, raised over $25,000. Marvel eventually provided an undisclosed amount of financial support in exchange for Cockrum agreeing to terms protected by a non-disclosure agreement. Cockrum said publicly he was very happy that so many people cared about my work and about me. I'm enormously grateful to Clifford Meth and Neal Adams for having moved this forward. I'm very happy with what everyone has done, including Marvel. Cockrum was due to draw an 8-page story in giant-size X-Men number 3, but a recurrence of his health problems prevented this. Adams filled in. Cockrum died at his home in Belton, South Carolina, on the morning of November 26, 2006, due to complications from diabetes. He was survived by his wife of many years, Patty Cockrum, a longtime member of Marvel's 1970s production staff, and by his son and 2 stepchildren. Legacy. The Joe Kibert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art bestowed the first annual Dave and Patty Cockrum Scholarship to a promising artist in 2008. The scholarship, which was organized by Meth, continues each year and is funded by sales of comics from Cockrum's personal collection. In the novelization of X-Men, The Last Stand, the president is named David Cockrum. Cockrum's longtime associate Chris Claremont created a character in homage to Cockrum in Exiles who eventually moved on at the end of X-Men, Die by the Sword, which ended with a full-page tribute to Cockrum. Bibliography. Comics work includes DC Batman number 246, number 410 €, 412, 423 Black Hawk number 254 €, 255, The Brave and the Bold number 167 Green Lantern, Volume 2, number 128, 177 Green Lantern Corps Quarterly number 3 Justice League America Annual number 6 Justice League Quarterly number 9, 11, Legion of Superheroes Volume 2 number 300, Legion of Superheroes Volume 3, number 45 The Legion number 25 Secret Origins number 42. Annual number 3, Shazam. Number 9 Sovereign 7 number 19 €, 23 Superboy number 184, 188, 190 €, 191, 193, 195, 197 €, 202 Superman number 248, 260, 260 Teen Titans number 41 Vigilante number 44 Weird War Tales number 99, Who's Who in the Legion of Superheroes number 1 a Euro 3, Who's Who, the definitive directory of the DC Universe number 2, 4, 7, 13. 25, Wonder Woman Volume 2, Annual number 5, Secret Files number 1, World's Finest Comics number 218. Marvel The Amazing Spider-Man number 264, Avengers number 106 a Euro 108, 124 a Euro 126, Giant Size number 2 a Euro 3, Bizarre Adventures number 27, Captain Marvel number 54, Defenders number 50, 53, 57, Destroyer, Miniseries, number 4, Giant Size X-Men number 1, 4, John Carter of Mars number 1, 11, Legion of Monsters number 1, Marvel Comics Presents number 23, 41, 73, 75 a Euro 76, Marvel Graphic Novel number 9, Marvel Holiday Special number 1, Marvel Preview number 1, Monsters Unleashed number 4 milliseconds, Marvel number 20 a Euro 21 milliseconds, Marvel, Volume 2, Giant Size number 1, Nightcrawler, Miniseries, number 1 a Euro 4, Punisher, Bloodlines, Savage Sword of Conan number 188, Solo Avengers number 17, Star Trek number 1 a Euro 6, 8 a Euro 10, Uncanny X-Men number 94 a Euro 107, 145 a Euro 150, 153 a Euro 158, 161 a Euro 164. X-Men, Legacy, Volume 2 number 109, What If? Number 38. Warren Creepy number 39 a Euro 40, 42 Eerie number 36, Vampirella number 11. References. External links, Dave Cockrum at Mike's Amazing World of Comics, Dave Cockrum at the Unofficial Handbook of Marvel Comics Creators.